Good day. Welcome back to another one of these. My name is Jackson, and today I'm going to be doing my way too bloody early award predictions for next season. So I know a lot of people like to predict these things. I'm a bit of a gambler, so I like to bet on these things early on in the season and try to pick some dark horse candidates that I like to see. But this is going to be just my straight up who I think is going to win each award, from MVP, most improved player, defensive player, sixth man, coach of the year, rookie of the year, basically the whole shebang. And let's just get right on into it with the MVP. Now, I do think that the MVP will be going to Los Angeles Lakers superstar Anthony Davis. I think that the Lakers will come back next season and once again have the best record in not only the West but in the whole league. I do see Giannis taking a step back because the depth of his team has taken a massive hit. So I don't think that they'll be sort of putting as much emphasis on the regular season. I think that there'll also be a fair bit of voter fatigue when it comes to Giannis with the media. People just generally get bored of voting for the same person every time, and I think that Anthony Davis is a fresh face for MVP. He's a talent that's been at the forefront of everyone's eyes for quite a few years now. And I think he's definitely going to be helped out by, I'm going to assume, LeBron taking a lesser role when it comes to the offense and being more of a facilitator than he even was this season, which will allow Anthony Davis to just absolutely flourish, as well as the extra pieces that they've added. I think that he'll definitely be able to just dominate in every way, shape, or form. I do have the runner-up for this one. My dark horse candidate is Luka Doncic, and I think this rides a lot on sort of the narrative that might surround Doncic, because, I mean, everyone loves a bit of an underdog. His team isn't as good as some of the other like powerhouses, especially in the West. But I mean, it's Luka Doncic. The man is probably going to be the third player in NBA history to average triple-double for a season. He's an offensive absolute mastermind. I think that he definitely has a good chance if his Dallas Mavericks team can actually get up there and maybe grab the second seed and he be the true focal point of everything on this team, which he definitely will be. Now, moving on to the defensive player of the year, I once again have the Los Angeles superstar Anthony Davis winning this one. I'm one of the people who thought that he should have won it last season. I think that Anthony Davis is the best individual defender. He's shown that he can defend both on the perimeter. He's absolutely devastating in the paint. He's an incredible help defender. He's always got all the statistics that a lot of the casual fans always point to, where there's blocks, steals. And if you get to the advanced stats, he's also got them. And I'm going to be basically, you can take this to the bank, but this Lakers team is going to once again be incredibly elite defensively. I mean, they've added Marc Gasol as well as Wesley Matthews to fill in that hole from Danny Green. I do think that they're going to be up there again. So I do have old mate AD taking defensive player as well as MVP, basically just doing what Giannis did last year. And speaking of Giannis, I do have him as my runner-up because the Bucks still do have Lopez. They might have lost a fair bit of their defensive depth with losing Robin Lopez and keeping Brook. But they're still going to be a defensive team. They're still, especially with the inclusion of Jrue Holiday, and Giannis is still going to be one of the best defenders in the league. So now moving on to most improved. Now this one's very hard to gauge, and it's probably one of the trickier sort of awards to predict, especially because you just don't know who's going to randomly come out there and maybe have a completely different role that no one had been made aware of, or if they were just they just put a lot of work in, or maybe things just clicked. Maybe they just had a great season type thing. But for me, I think that the MIP will be Brandon Clark of the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, he's definitely one of those under-the-radar, up-and-coming players that has built this very, very surprisingly strong core in Memphis. He's one of the reasons that this team shocked everyone. I mean, I had them as probably one of the worst teams going into last season. And then they basically, I will say, they made the playoffs. Even though they got kicked out in the round, they did technically make it. They were the 8th seed when the season concluded. And Brandon Clark was an integral part of that. And I think that his role, since he's now gotten a year under his belt, he'll be more of a role within this team's offense. He's a strong defensive player, and he's just an energy guy, which is what always seems to win these most improved awards, most likely, when you go back through them and check them all out. And I think that just having Ja Morant also being more confident in being a facilitator in his second year that Brandon Clark is going to be able to capitalize on that and just take that MIP award running. The runner-up for me, though, is Jamal Murray. This one might be a bit weird because you might sit there and think, oh, but he's already a star. But in my eyes, going into last season, I think I've already said this in a previous video, that I thought that Jamal Murray was sort of an average point guard going into last season, and then he was able to basically bring himself into stardom through these playoffs. And I think that if he's able to continue that level, because all of his statistics skyrocketed, his overall impact of the game skyrocketed, and if he's able to do that for next season, then, I mean, if he's able to play like he did in the bloody playoffs, old mate's going to be sitting there in MVP conversations. But more realistically, I think that he'd be a pretty strong candidate for most improved if he's able to keep up those numbers. And moving on to Rookie of the Year, my Rookie of the Year is going to be Killian Hayes. And if you watch my Detroit video, which I definitely go give that a geeze if you if you like my vids, I think that he was definitely the steal of the draft, being picked where he was, as well as being one of the best prospects within the entire draft. Arguably, this is a weak draft compared to previous years and most likely the upcoming drafts as well. But Killian Hayes is just in that perfect position where Derrick Rose is most likely going to come off the bench, as he seems to be fairly comfortable doing that. And he definitely... He's not one of those stars that needs to be in the starting lineup, and since this Pistons team does appear to be going for a full rebuild, it would make much more sense for Killian Hayes to be starting and then have Derrick Rose come off the bench and sort of act like a mentor for him. And Killian Hayes is just one of those players that I think is going to come into the league and just dominate straight away, and be able to show, well, dominate's probably a bit of a stretch, but be able to have an impact on the game, which from young guards usually is not always all that common. But yeah, I think especially because of the situation being in Detroit, most likely going to be one of the focal points of the offense, as well as you'll most likely see Derrick Rose be traded. There'll be a lot more minutes for Hayes. I think that he definitely is going to be the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. That's honestly a bit of a dark horse candidate since he was drafted out of the top 5. Now, my runner-up is Lamellar Ball. I'm not that high on Lamellar Ball. I think that he, just like his brother Lonzo, was hyped up a lot more than his actual talents. And that's not to say that I don't think he's a great player. I mean, I have him as runner-up for Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to be a strong player within this league, especially for his playmaking and his size. But I do think that, and I mean, from watching him while he played in Australia, yes, he was good, but he wasn't as dominant as you sort of expect this. I mean, he's being hyped up as a transcendent talent almost, and I just don't see it. But I do see that his role in Charlotte will allow him to put up the numbers and have the impact on the team that will allow him to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Now, Sixth Man of the Year, I actually had this. I didn't have this man in here because I didn't realize he was going to be a sixth man. It's kind of weird to pay a sixth man $20+ million, but Danilo Gallinari is going to be one of the highest paid bench players that I've ever seen, that I can remember. I definitely expected him to be in the starting lineup, but I guess that he just doesn't really match the small forward mold in today's game. So they're going to be slotting him off the bench, and he's going to be the most talented bench player, definitely in this league. So I think that he'll run away with the Sixth Man of the Year award, and it's definitely helpful for him that generally the Sixth Man of the Year award is more of an offensive than anything else type of award, and Gallinari is a offensive more than any other type of player. So old mate Gallo 100% is going to be winning this. I have no doubt in my mind, unless he makes his way into the starting lineup or is injured. I think there's no way that anyone else is going to be able to take this from him. But if there was going to be anyone, I think it's going to be the reigning Sixth Man of the Year, and that's why for my runner-up I've got Montrezl Harrell for the Lakers. And I think that he's going to be the offensive powerhouse coming off the bench, and he's most likely going to be that classic six-man firepower, sort of like a Patty Mills type thing, where you just slot him in off the bench to be a bit of a microwave for everyone else so that they can see the ball go through the basket a lot more, and it'll gain confidence for everyone else. I think it's basically the same role that he had on the Clippers, but probably in a bigger setting, considering that he won't have Lou Williams to consistently fall on. And it definitely will be interesting to see how Montrez goes without having the dynamic tandem of him and Williams. Now, moving into Coach of the Year, this is the one it's basically whoever has the best record. Usually it's not really about who actually did coach the best. But for this one, I definitely got Frank Vogel because I do have the Lakers having the best record this coming season just because of how good their offseason was. And I mean, you've got LeBron and AD coming off a championship. Their confidence will be at all-time high. I think it's going to be very hard to dethrone them. And he's a good coach. He's a smart, defensive-minded coach. He's able to get the most out of his players, so this is a bit of a shoo-in. And then runner-up, this one does hurt because I'm not a big fan of this guy, but I do think the 76ers are most likely going to be the best regular season team in the East. And with Doc Rivers at the helm, that generally will make him a Coach of the Year candidate, even if I'm not the highest on his actual coaching ability. For those of you who don't know, I do think that Doc Rivers has rode on the wave of the Boston Celtics 08 title for way too long, when a lot of his resume and a lot of his history points to him being a fairly average coach. So that's it. That's all my award predictions. I know these are way too early, but I think it's just it'll be a little fun to go back and see how wrong I am, because I'm going to be pretty bloody wrong across the boards, most likely. But yeah, like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that YouTube stuff, and let me know your award predictions and who you think are going to take the trophies next season. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.